He came unannounced. He didn't tell me. I was unaware that he was coming or had plans even to come. I was asleep, and to my knowledge, Trey was asleep. We didn't have sex, nothing. We literally lay down in the bed. We was taking shots a little bit, so we sleepy as 3 in the morning. I wake up to shots. I jump up and I run out of the room. When I'm running out of the room, Tyree is literally falling into the room as he's being shot. He was shot 16 times.
He lost his life for the love of his life.
A promising rapper was shot dead in his baby mama's bedroom after finding her in bed with another man. 16 shots, 3:30 in the morning. That's the headline. That's what made the news. But that's not the whole story. Because she's told the story 3 times. Once to police, once under oath, and once 2 years later, in her own words, available on multiple YouTube channels. And the most detailed version didn't come while she was sitting in front of a jury. This is the story of Tyree Richardson, and the details is still leaving many in disbelief. Tyree Tashawn Richardson was 20 years old, born April 26, 2002. Charismatic, his family says. The kind of person who made a room louder just by walking into it. He was a father to a young son named Cody, and by every account, that role meant more to him than anything else in his life. He checked in constantly, reaching out to Cody's aunt whenever he couldn't get through directly, wanting to know his son was okay. He was building a food truck under the name D-Spot 4301, talking about it in his own videos with real excitement.
Give me a month or two, man. This motherfucker's gonna be up and running. I want y'all to support. Man, black businesses need to support each other a little more. In the community, we're gonna be all over PG.
That boy motivating the youth,
and do something a little different for the community. But we'll be serving everything, breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything, man. It's an experience for me, so you know what I'm saying?
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and pushing the idea that black-owned businesses needed to support each other more. And he was building a music career, recording under the name FSO Gunk. He wasn't perfect, he'd made mistakes, but by every account from the people who loved him, he was actively trying to fix them, for his own sake and for his son's. But this wasn't the first time someone had tried to kill him. April 26th, 2020, Tyree's birthday. His girlfriend at the time, Autumn Anderson, had planned the whole day. A massage, brunch, gifts, dinner with his family, a night out at the club to close it. They left in the early morning hours. Tyree pulled into the neighborhood, backed into a parking spot, and stepped out to roll a blunt against the trunk. Routine, nothing out of the ordinary. He wasn't heading inside yet, he was just taking a moment. Then, without warning, everything changed. Tyree took off running. A second figure appeared out of nowhere, chasing him into the dark. Autumn jumped behind the wheel, threw the car in drive, and started circling the neighborhood with the windows down, calling his name into the night. No commotion, no sound of a struggle, just silence until she flagged down a police officer parked near a nearby library. Tyree survived, but the questions that followed never fully went away. Only 2 people knew exactly where he'd be that night, his girlfriend and one close friend. So how did a gunman find him? At exactly the right moment, in a quiet, gated neighborhood, with no warning and no witnesses. Nobody was ever charged, nobody was ever named. Tyree grew suspicious of the people closest to him, but he let it go. 2 years later, almost to the week of his birthday, someone would find him again, and this time, there would be no running fast enough. Tyree and Autumn's relationship never fully settled. On, then off. Broken up, then back together. The kind of instability that comes from 2 young people trying to raise a child together while everything else stayed unsteady underneath them. In voice messages between them, later shared publicly, Tyree can be heard pleading his case, telling her their next 6 months could be different.
You should allow me to work the shit off my child for you. For all the shit I dragged you through for the last 4 years, you know. I honestly feel as if our next 6 months is going to be so great about our relationship that you will be able to just forget about everything that's happened in the past. I just really think you would see a greater change. I don't like when you tell me it's no more because I really got faith in this shit. I really do care. I really do think that this can work. Don't keep cutting me off. I really do think that this can work. I know we can work it out. I want to do this shit with you without my home, without you being on my own, without you being here. It sucks. It's empty. Yesterday, I was in my room all day. I can't keep doing this shit. I can't keep living like this. I don't want to be with nobody else. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you know.
Telling her he was tired of coming home to an empty house. He admitted, in his own words, that he hadn't always shown up the way he should have, that he'd been absent. Autumn brought up in that same conversation that he'd hit her before, that he'd cheated, that trust between them had been broken more than once. He didn't deny it. He asked instead for a chance to be different. Autumn told him plainly that fixing a relationship takes two people who both want it, and she wasn't sure anymore that she was one of them. By June 2022, they were technically broken up. Tyree had moved in with his parents, but he still had the door code to Autumn's mother's house, where she was living. He still came around when he wanted to see Cody, or when he simply wanted to feel like things weren't as over as they seemed. Then came June 13th. In the immediate aftermath of the shooting, Autumn gave a statement to police. She said Tyree just busted in the room. That single line is what first circulated. It's the version that shaped how the public understood what happened for months. A man barges in on his ex with another man. In a moment of panic, shots are fired. Clean, understandable, almost sympathetic to the shooter. It's also, by her own later admission, not the whole picture. The autopsy painted a more complicated picture than he busted in. Investigators reconstructed part of the scene from shell casing placement and wound trajectory. The evidence indicated Tyree was on the bed when he was shot. His shoes were already off, consistent with him having settled in, rather than just arrived in the middle of a confrontation. He was hit 16 times, 1 bullet to the back of his head, 1 to his neck, 14 tearing into his back. According to the family's account of testimony, some of those rounds were fired while the shooter stood over him. How does that square with a man suddenly bursting through a door? That question is exactly what the defense had to answer in front of a jury. Yancey never denied pulling the trigger. His argument was that he believed in that moment he was defending himself and Autumn from an imminent threat. The physical evidence didn't have to disprove that he was scared. It only had to convince a jury of what he was actually scared of and when. And under oath, Autumn's own account started to shift too. On the stand, Autumn acknowledged something narrower than her original police statement. She admitted that she had actually been asleep and that she did not know how Tyree entered the room at all. Not he busted in, not a witnessed intrusion. Under oath, facing cross-examination, her sworn account was that she had no first-hand knowledge of how it started, which raises an obvious question. If she didn't see how he entered, what was the original "he busted in" statement based on? 2 years later, she'd offer a version far more detailed than anything she said in that courtroom. In 2024, on her own channel, Autumn gave her most detailed account yet.
Airport week. He came unannounced. He didn't tell me. I was unaware that he was coming or had plans even to come. That gives from 2:50 to 3:28. That's almost a 40-minute time gap in between the time where we went upstairs to go to sleep until he came. I was asleep, and to my knowledge, Trey was asleep. We didn't have sex, nothing. We literally lay down in the bed. We was taking shots a little bit, so we sleepy as 3 in the morning. We lay down and go to bed. I wake up to shots. I seen some comments like, how do you sleep through 16 shots? I hopped out to the first one. Trey is literally sitting up in the bed, shooting in the door frame, and I see Tyree's silhouette in the door frame. I thought that Trey was going to think like he was there off the strength of me. And so I jump up and I run out of the room. When I'm running out of the room, Tyree is literally falling into the room as he's being shot. He was shot 16 times. He was shot 16 times. When I run out of the room, I run across the hallway to my sister's room. And my sister is literally at her door, locking her door. I hear it, I hear her footsteps, I hear her just lock her door, she didn't even know what was going on.
She says Tyree came to her mother's house unannounced, arriving around 3:28 in the morning. No conversation, no argument. She says she and Yancey had been drinking earlier, laid down together and fell asleep. Then she says she woke up to the first gunshot, saw a silhouette in the doorway, realized it was Tyree. Says Yancey was already sitting up in the bed, firing toward the door, and that she believed, in the confusion of the moment, he thought Tyree was a threat. She describes running out of the room while the shots were still going, sprinting across the hallway to her sister's door, telling her to call 911.
Okay, something bad would happen. Okay, tell me what happened. I'm getting all started, okay? I'm gonna have more questions today. No, I need somebody to tell me they are getting all started. I'm gonna continue to ask questions, okay? Are you listening now? How old is he? Is he awake? Is he breathing? Okay, just to clarify, is he breathing? No, he's sorry. Casey? Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm ready to help you now. Stay on the line. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm listening. I'm help you in Casey, this is 911. Do you know who shot him or where the other person is?
Hearing her sister lock the door instead, unaware of what was happening on the other side of the wall. On paper, this doesn't technically break her sworn testimony. Waking up to a gunshot and seeing a silhouette in a doorway isn't the same as witnessing someone enter a room. She could have been telling the truth both times. But here's what's harder to reconcile. This is the most specific, most vivid version of that night Autumn has ever given, down to the exact minute Tyree arrived. And she gave it 2 years after the trial ended, on her own platform, with no cross-examination, no prosecutor, no jury, not under oath when it mattered most, but after, when it didn't carry the same weight. To police in 2022, a single line: he busted in. Under oath in 2023, far less. Asleep, no knowledge of how he got in. On her own channel in 2024, the most detail she's ever given, offered only once the courtroom was no longer listening. 3 tellings of the same night, what isn't in dispute across any version. 16 rounds, fired at 3:30 in the morning by a man Tyree had never met. Tyree's mother remembers the exact time she got the call, 3:32 a.m. She says she still wakes up at that exact time almost every day, years later, without an alarm, without meaning to. She was told someone had run in and shot him. She immediately called her son's phone, trying to understand what had happened, trying to figure out if someone had followed him. When she and Tyree's father reached the scene, there were 2 officers waiting. She asked which hospital he'd been taken to. The officer told her there was no hospital. He was still in the house. That's when she understood her son was gone. On the 911 call itself, made by Autumn's sister while Tyree lay on the bedroom floor, Tyree's mother says part of what's audible is Autumn calling out for the family dog before her attention returns to the man dying in front of her.
The 911 tape was revealed. There was a few attempts to try to resuscitate him. The dog, the family dog that lived in the house, was more important than my son's body, laying dead. She was looking for her dog. Whatever the dog, King, whatever the name was in the 911 tape, it says she's yelling out the door for the dog. My son is laying in the bedroom, dead.
Okay. Over and over, don't give up. Just looking for the limit, look paralyzed runner. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, go ahead, buddy. Come on, buddy. Okay, are you gonna go back? We have to go back and do compressions, okay? This is up there, one compression. Okay. Hey, come on, buddy, let's go. Okay, just stay down there, right there with you, okay? Okay, are they ready with you?
To Tyree's parents, that detail became almost as painful as the shooting itself. Tyree's funeral was held June 24th, 2022 at Reed Temple AME Church in Glendale, Maryland. Friends carried his casket. His young son, too small to understand what he'd lost, would grow up piecing together who his father was. There's something about the killer, the new boyfriend Tyree never even got a name for, and you'd see it shortly. He claimed innocence, but was he actually as innocent as he claimed? Yancey fled the residence on foot into an unfamiliar neighborhood in the middle of the night. What followed was a night-long manhunt through Calvert County. A resident spotted an unknown figure moving through his backyard and fired a single shot before the suspect fled toward a nearby highway. Roads in the surrounding area were closed. Residents were told to lock their doors and stay inside. Police helicopters circled overhead. An armored tactical vehicle and multiple K-9 units moved through the search zone hour after hour, with no sign of him. Nearly 24 hours after the shooting, a 911 caller passing through the area spotted a man matching Yancey's description, wearing distinctive pink pants, standing in a gas station parking lot roughly 2 miles from the scene. Officers arrived in under a minute. Witnesses pointed them north. A K9 track led deputies into a wooded area behind the station, working through the trees in the dark. At 2:43 a.m. on June 14th, 2022, Terrence Kenneth Yancey was taken into custody without incident, almost exactly 24 hours after he ran. Yancey was indicted on 11 charges, including murder, use of a firearm in the commission of a crime of violence, reckless endangerment, and altering physical evidence. His defense from the beginning: self-defense. He claimed he believed Tyree posed an imminent threat to himself and to Autumn in that moment. Before trial, prosecutors offered him a plea deal, 3 to 8 years. According to Tyree's family, he turned it down, not on his attorney's advice, but because he genuinely believed in his own mind that he had done nothing wrong. The family remembers exactly how close that decision came to changing. Trial was set to begin on a Monday. On the Friday before, late in the evening, they were contacted by Yancey's attorney, asking if the plea deal was still on the table. By then, according to Lindsay, the offer had already expired, and the answer was no. Tyree's family wanted the full story told in open court, not resolved quietly behind closed doors. If he'd taken that deal, her original account might never have been tested under oath in public at all. The trial ran 7 days in the circuit court for Calvert County, beginning April 10th, 2023. Prosecutors, led by Assistant State's Attorney Christopher J. Monte, presented more than 300 pieces of physical evidence. Jurors heard investigators walk through the forensic timeline in detail: shell casing placement, trajectory analysis, the position of the body relative to the bed. They heard from the owner of the home, whose testimony reportedly contradicted parts of the story that had circulated publicly. They heard from Autumn under oath, and they heard from Yancey himself, describing the moment through the lens of a man who believed, however unreasonably, that his life and Autumn's were in danger. The jury deliberated for roughly 5 hours. Not murder, voluntary manslaughter, along with 2 firearms violations, 4 counts of reckless endangerment, and 1 count of destruction of evidence. The jury accepted that Yancey believed Tyree posed an imminent threat, even though the law required that belief to be reasonable, and the jury found that it wasn't. On July 28, 2023, Judge Mark S. Charnley sentenced Yancey to 18 years of active incarceration. Because manslaughter is classified as a crime of violence under Maryland law, he'll serve at least half of that sentence, 9 years, before he's even eligible for parole. For 16 shots, several fired into his back while he was already down. For Lindsay and Roger, the verdict didn't feel like an ending, and 2 years later, they'd learned the case wasn't finished with them either. Despite everything, Tyree's family has made a point of separating his legacy from the circumstances of his death. For 2 years, Lindsay had told fans the music was coming, songs Tyree had recorded but never got the chance to release himself. But in that same breath, she always added something else. Not fast, right. Every detail checked before it went out into the world. On April 26th, 2024, that promise was finally kept. That date isn't just close to his birthday, it is his birthday. The same date, 4 years earlier, that someone had first tried to kill him outside a parking lot in the middle of the night. The same date, 2 years after that, when his family finally gave the world the 31 songs he never lived to release. The album is called Youngest in Charge. Track after track pulls from the same place: hustle, loyalty, the weight of being young and already responsible for people who depended on him. But 2 songs on that album aren't like the others. One is called Cody, I Love You Forever. The other is called Message to Cody. 2 songs out of 31 addressed directly to a 2-year-old boy who will grow up mostly knowing his father through recordings like these. Songs made before anyone knew they'd become the closest thing Cody has to hearing his father speak to him as an adult, long after any real conversation between them stopped being possible. Lindsay has said she controls every part of his portfolio personally. Every song, every release, every dollar. Proceeds don't go to her, or to Roger, or to the rest of the family. They go directly into Cody's estate, set aside for the day he's old enough to understand exactly what he's inheriting, and exactly why. She's also said something else, that listening to the album now, she hears things she didn't hear while he was alive. Proof, in her words, that somewhere in his last months, without knowing what was coming, Tyree was already trying to leave something behind for his son. None of this fixes what happened. None of it explains it. A biopic is reportedly in development too. One his mother says she's determined to get right, even if it takes months longer than planned. She wants Cody someday, and the public right now to understand who Tyree actually was, not the shorthand version that spread online in the weeks after he died. His father closed the family's only public statement about all of this with a single line. It's since been repeated in the comments under nearly every video ever made about this case.
You took from him because you figured that's a way to get back. But what you got back at is depriving your own child not to have a better life than you did. I'll make myself clear. You deprived him to have a better life than you did, and that's your own child. At the end of the day, what you did, that's between, like my wife said, you and God. But I want to put this out there because it's somebody that need to hear this. I said it before. Be careful who you let in your house, because you can love people more than people love you.
Be careful who you let into your house. A promising rapper shot dead in his baby mama's bedroom after finding her in bed with another man. That was the headline in June of 2022. By the summer of 2023, it looked closed. A trial, a verdict, a sentence, a family trying to move forward. 2 years later, the only person left free to talk is still adding to the story, one version at a time. The first time someone came for Tyree, he got away. The second time, he didn't. 3 tellings of the same night, and still no clean answer. So I want to hear it from you. When you look at everything Autumn has said, to police, under oath, and in her own videos, what do you actually believe happened in that room? Drop your take in the comments. I read every one of them. And if you want more cases like this, ones that don't stop at the verdict, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.